Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gym Owners Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Stone. Over there is my co-host, John Fairbanks. How you doing, John?
I'm doing excellent.
Good. Today, we're going to go over some health check criteria for your gym, what to do to check in on the health of your business. Make sure you're not like losing track of things that you should be keeping track of. We're going to run through kind of a daily, weekly, and monthly versions of like what you need to be checking in your gym. This is just a checklist, some points of emphasis. I think it's important because one of the most common things we see in almost every gym that we work with is they'll start to make changes, and then like it's very common in human nature, they'll redirect their attention somewhere else, and then it's the previous stuff that we focused on developing and moving forward, they kind of fall by the wayside. Perfect example of this is if someone decides to start selling supplements. The amount of gyms I know that technically sell supplements but don't actually sell any supplements is like pretty high. Like it's pretty high. It's no effort there. And I'm not saying you got to be pushy, but it's the perfect like microcosm to this story, because I think that is exactly what happens with tons of things in our gym. So before we get started on this checklist, I want you to make sure you go to gymownersrevolution.com. That's where you can enroll in the Gear Academy. We also have the Gym Owners Revolution Facebook group. Link is going to be in our show notes. Make sure you follow the show at Gym Owners Revolution, Gym Owners Podcast. Fuck, we got to tidy that up. It's like one of my number one red flags on podcasts is when your social media handles are not identical, like fully identical. And once there's like any dissonance in that, it's stupid and convoluted and you lose. Yeah. So listen, guys, not everybody can be perfect. We're doing our best. So I was talking with a gym owner yesterday, and this is someone we've worked with for a long time. And we were going through, he's making lots of moves. We got new program launches. We have big moves being made for the summer, public speaking events. There's lots of things that this Gym Owners Revolution Gear Academy guy is running with right now. He's very busy. But we started looking, we're like, man, I know this is small potatoes right now, but I'm like, you got no new Google reviews in a really long time. It's like, I know we've got lots of new clients, and I know we've had very successful camps where there's a lot of one-off clients in, and a lot of them have been very happy, and we're just not capitalizing it. And so it was kind of a, we're like a refocusing of attention,
recalibration.
And I think like when we try to build some of these systems to operate underneath so that we don't always have to be giving it attention. Once we get a system in place via like an email that goes out, out of your master email sequence after 3 weeks asking for a Google review, maybe another one after 6 months, maybe another one after a year, and hopefully you catch them all. And then maybe some requests for some higher level testimonials further down the road. While that's all great, if we're never really checking to see if we're getting more Google reviews, we can't really tell if that system's broken or not. And I think once we put a system in place, very often gym owners, we walk away from it and we go worry about the next thing, as we should. But we always need to be checking back in, because sometimes these things need to be tuned up. Other times it's just a matter of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You got to actually place some emphasis on some of these things. In his case, it was testimonials, and it was like, okay, we just got to be asking more. And we don't have to ask more and be pushy forever, because that'll get annoying. But let's make a big push to get these numbers up for a month or two, and then we'll address this underlying system so that can become more effective. And then we'll just make sure that in a few months, we place a bunch more emphasis on this in our staff meetings and all that other stuff. So that's a perfect example of how we came to this conversation.
And the real issue comes from, because we're working with every gym owner, it's dependent on whatever you have right now. Like, we're not a couple of shills for some client management system, and we're going to push some bullshit on you right out the gate. Oh, well, you need to be a part of this, or do you have this software, or do you do this? But the downside of us not being shills and getting some kickback because of a relationship that we have with somebody is that this particular gym owner, he doesn't necessarily have a massive, robust client management system that allows a lot of those automations to happen. So when we have those discussions, hey, you need to have some of these things in place. In a perfect world, anything that you ever build inside of your business it's especially something like this, because we believe this is one of those cornerstone items that you need to be able to have and exist. We want to be able to build something, but then have that live forever. So now that becomes something that just continues to work. You do not need to be thinking about it. But if you're not in that position to do that yet, then we are having those conversations. They become really important. But then as like you said, Tyler, as we go, as your focus changes and evolves, and as we look at other things, those things can be left. And if they're not automated, if they're not built in to just automatically happen, or they're not part of a recalibration system in your brain where it's, I know every week I do this, every month I do this, every quarter I do this, if that's not part of a checklist that you have, like you said, you won't even look at them because you'll be busy being busy. And it's not even the work he's doing is great work. And the work a lot of people are doing a great work, but you can get too close to the trees and you start to lose vision of that whole forest.
Yeah.
Can we talk about just for a second
Mm-hmm.
the gym that we saw that apparently has gone completely off the rails for whatever fucking tea boba bullshit supplement thing that they're
Oh my
selling?
God, yeah. So I don't
Like,
want to get into specifics because
but this is a good example for everybody.
it's not super near me. But yeah, this is a gym that is just like does lots of things. It's fitness center. I think also has martial arts and stuff. And then they also have a supplement thing, right? And I get it. You're gonna get walk-in business from making, if you got somebody manning a fucking shake blender, you know what I'm saying? Go for it. But when I looked through their social media stuff, it's like I don't see a single post about gym stuff at all. Not any. This is now a glorified shake shop, and to which is again, I love the idea of being able to get walk-in business. It's always an opportunity to convert people to gym memberships. It's always people that are like, I don't hate that idea, but they had to come out and like very specifically state that they're like, well, we're not Herbalife though,
We're not an MLM.
but we're not either. So it's just very confusing. You're like, what the fuck is this? So now if I want to join for like martial arts, if I'm going to go there to train jujitsu or MMA, like I look at this page and I'm like, well, this is for moms to get tricked into buying sugary things that they think are healthy. Like I don't know what the fuck any of that marketing was for. And as you can see, it's just this. That's the one thing they're placing emphasis on, which I get. But then you got to play the whole game if you're worried about the whole game, the whole system delivering for you, and you're only pumping fucking sugar juice drinks and shit. Like I don't. It was kind of nuts for me to see, because if you renamed that page so and so's smoothie house, everything makes sense. You know what I mean? But for a gym, and you wonder why we're not getting members and shit like this, it's fucking crazy. It's nuts.
But how common is that though? Like Tyler, the gyms that we've seen over the years, and especially people that we have then worked with, they've come to us most of the time, if you are in the business of trying to make your gym better and you're trying to benefit like business wise, you identified this as a gap. You have a gap. You got into it because you wanted to coach, then you didn't want to have a boss, so you wanted to do your own thing, and you realized really quickly that fuck, I don't know what to do, like with the business side of things. You've now looked. So you've looked at different organizations, you've looked at different companies, you looked at different consultants. And the odds are you've looked at a lot of them. I can't tell you how often we are now working with someone and they've already worked with another group before.
Yeah.
Tyler, our experience when people have done that, it's crazy how much other groups that are similar, other organizations that are similar to what we do, how much they change your business.
Yeah.
Like it starts to become their business. And this is such a good example because the MLM thing, they'll give you everything. They'll give you the text messages to send. They'll give you all the printouts, all the graphics, all the everything. Like it's all in a box. It's in a nice box that you could just copy and paste and post. And really quickly, if you're not careful, you've all seen it. We literally interviewed a guy. We had a guy on and he talked about how he like was wondering what the fuck happened to his gym and his gym owner, because obviously he sold his soul to the devil, and the soul was being sucked out in front of him in real time, because it was almost like they just became this other thing, because you just start copying and pasting and posting. And if you're not careful, holy shit, now you don't look like anything that you used to look like.
And I think that that's the important thing about making some of these consistent checks back, where you got to go, you just have to objectively look back, like, what does this look like? What is this doing for me? What is my actual plan here? Because sometimes they're just like in this gym's case, they're just running with stuff. And we got to post something. Yeah, I do. It's that, and that's just the social media side. But if you're wondering also why you're not getting membership inquiries, there's not a single post about the benefits of anything else that you do. And so I think that is again, but there's a lot of businesses out there that don't need to make any money. There's a lot of gyms that don't need to turn a profit. There's a lot of gyms that somebody just opens up so they can have a place to train. It's their own, and they're willing to take a loss or do whatever. But if you're one of those gyms, I don't know, shop elsewhere. You're listening to the wrong show here. I'm not saying getting rich at all costs is the philosophy here, but like, you can make a big impact in your community, and I think you can do a really good job, and you can make like a really, really, really good living for you, your family, and your staff. Like, I don't understand how many times I fucking have to explain that to gym owners, and it's usually the people whose hearts are in the right place. Those are the ones I have to fucking clarify that for. The ones who are scumbags, there's no worries. They don't give a fuck about anything. It's fine. I always have to convince some good person that the things that they do actually have value and should be able to make them money, and they don't have to be a martyr. They don't have to die on the hill of this fucking project by turning it into a charitable organization. It's nuts. So, but let's dive into it here, because daily, we've got some items here that I think, if you were to check in regarding those subjects in your gym daily, even Christ, John, a process is one thing for these things, but would you just give these things a look, a thought? Not every one of these things needs to be a meeting. The first one here is client engagement and feedback. And I think that's important. One, just that goes as simple as emails, all this stuff. Like, but do you have a system where, if it's not you, is the person who is doing those things, who is responding to emails, who is handling text message, who is answering the phone, is that person being talked to? Are you checking in with them at all? Are you the one doing it? Are you actually paying attention to the overall overarching trends, or are you just getting from call to call, situation to situation? Are you looking at it objectively and going, what does this mean for the business? What is the feedback you're getting from your business? Are you making requests? If your membership base is robust enough, you should be getting feedback requests probably at least weekly, something new. Somebody should be crossing that line, right? Where they're either getting a request for a Google review or a next level testimonial or something like that. And that's client satisfaction, client results, I think, are still the most important thing in your business. It's the foundation of what John and I build everything on. It's our sales process is like that. The offer stacks are built on this. The way you handle staffing, what products you plug into your gym, all of it needs to be focused on a good client experience that's focused on results. And I think that a lot of people ignore that stuff daily, and they just go through, and you're just coaching. And that's, by the way, it's fine. Some days are just days, man. There's days you're just coaching, and there's a lot of what we're doing that's not special, and it is a consistency game. Results is a consistency game. But when are you really addressing, is this going well?
Because if you're not, right, like if you're not doing it, this is why it makes the daily check. Because if you're not doing it daily, and then you probably aren't going to do it weekly. So now you like, oh, I remember to do this. It is 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
The problem is, like, things that weren't fires, that weren't smoking, that weren't a huge problem, you could have caught before they became a major issue.
Yeah.
But because you're not just doing a pulse check. And I like the idea of, the reason why I like client engagement and feedback, and getting that client feedback and all that kind of stuff. If you get that, you can do this to where you, as the gym owner, if you have staff, you can move in that direction, right? Like, you can have staff have just simple ways. Like, the things that I like the most is, you want to have your staff be responsible for a few people, like have a real systematic way for your staff to be able to check in with people, but more importantly, be able to report back. Like, do you have an area? The simple is just being like, hey, I was able to I checked in with these people and I put down notes, or hey, so-and-so, their wife got cancer, or so-and-so, hey, they're moving away, their kid just got accepted to college. Like, there's some of these basic things that allow you to continue to learn and have those natural pulse checks within your clients that will lead to more business. This is the one thing we're talking about. Like, we're not talking about just getting to know people and trying to record conversations. This will lead to more money. And because you're doing these little things every single day, you just enable your coaches and personal trainers and all these people that are they doing the right things? Yeah. I saw a thing recently that this comes back to, again, it's client. If you're getting feedback, you're getting feedback from clients. Do your coaches actually show up on time? Like, do personal trainers actually show up on time?
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to watch a client while I was training, sit for 10 minutes in the waiting room. And I knew it was 10 after 12. Nobody was there. I know this dude personal trains. I see him every time I'm in the gym once a week. Personal trainer comes in 10 minutes late and then immediately gets started with the client.
Yeah. This goes back to really is, do you know what's going on in your gym on a daily basis? Not only what is going on, but what's supposed to be going on. And where does that live? Like, let's be honest. At any moment in your gym, can you tell me how many personal training sessions are going to be happening in your gym? This seems really basic. For some of you guys that have crossed this threshold, you're going to like kind of laugh about this, but I know lots of gyms that don't do this at all, that have no idea who is coaching when and where. There's no shared calendar for private sessions. There's no real one single place where like everybody knows who's fucking coaching when. Now, once you get the staff beyond 2 or 3 people, you should have this. But like to realistically know what sessions are going on, with whom, how many do they have left? Can you just look in one place and know what's got to go on in your gym today? What staff's going to be in when, who's coaching who, how many sessions this coach is coaching today? Because that's where you're going to see everything's going to branch out from there. And I see a lot of gyms that are just like, couldn't really tell me when we're talking about this, who is coaching when, where, and for what. And it's like, no, the coach is dealing with them. It's like, okay, but you're giving now a lot of that over to the coach. And we'll get into this when we get into the weekly stuff about client progress. But I think it's really important that the business as a whole have a grasp on what's going on. Because really, how busy are your classes each day? Are you having some sort of daily debrief where you're able to at least check in maybe the next morning on the day before? So you can know, oh shit, it was really slow. And maybe the daily trends, day to day is not that important. But if you're checking it in daily, you're also going to check in on some of the stuff weekly and monthly. You're going to start to see some trends, and you're going to see some opportunities to improve or some situations where you're going to want to change. Sales numbers, another big one. I don't get too hung up on like daily sales numbers, but it's good to see where you're at on your day 1 of 30, day 2 of 30, day 3 of 30. Just to see, well, shit, we are behind. We need to move, or what is happening. How many cancellations have we had? Is today a big cancellation day? That doesn't mean that there's anything we could do today that was going to stop it. But if you don't know when these things happen, you have no idea how far a situation has slid oftentimes before it becomes front and center in your attention.
How much does that sound like weighing yourself every day?
It really does, doesn't it?
It does. Like the idea is like you probably, while weighing yourself every day is not vital, right, for weight loss, you will not have gained those last 20 pounds if you were weighing yourself every day. You don't want to wake up and all of a sudden realize, fuck, we're down like 20 people.
Yeah.
Like we've lost 20 people. What the fuck has happened? If you, again, doing it daily or having staff that's able to check in with you daily, you as a gym owner, while that daily is happening, you can be looking at that every week, or you could be looking at that every month. And that allows you now to be like, oh, okay. Like this is what the attendance looks like. This is what lost clients look like. This is what opportunities look like. Because psychologically, if you see, I've lost 5 people this week, do you know what you're subconsciously going to do? You're going to hustle a little bit harder. You're going to follow up with a few more people, and you're just going to do it naturally because you know in the back of your mind, shit, I've lost some people, and there may be nothing you could have done about it. But now you will work that much harder because you're aware, and that lack of awareness is huge.
It's again, much like weight loss, it's about choosing not to keep your head buried in the sand. That's all this really is. And the last one here for daily is going to be staff check-ins. Now, this doesn't mean you need a daily staff meeting. This doesn't mean that every meeting, I worked at companies that had, in my opinion, too many meetings, but like there was one a week that was still, I felt like was a little too long and a little too verbose. And maybe there was a lot more people in it than needed to participate in all these conversations sometimes. But that one at a minimum was still something that needed to happen. But I see a lot of gyms operate like a business where nobody talks to anybody about what they're going to do that day at work. Like coaches come in and coach, and then they fucking leave, or they sit around or whatever. And I see tons of gym owners and management staff that like everything outside of what they're doing in that hour is just like, it's just a hang, which is fine. Totally fine. If you're getting paid for only the time that you're coaching, I think that's great. But where are we checking in? This is a part of the quality control issue that I see very often is, who do you got today? Oh, cool. What time are they going to be? Like, don't let your staff go too many days being in your gym without talking to you about their clients and what they're doing and who they have and what their schedule's like. You need to get a sense for that when they're in. Just simply, who do you got today? What are you coaching today? What are you doing? If it's group class, like, what do you think of this workout? Have you tried it yet? Do you want to try it this afternoon? Like, there are always things about the stuff that they're doing that they need to be. Again, this seems like really, this seems like basic stuff, but I know so many gyms that don't ever that, and it is a top-down thing where now the coach knows the gym doesn't give a fuck about them or their clients. They know that the gym does not care about anything the client accomplishes, anything the client's trying to accomplish. They don't care who's coming in. Oh shit, they've been doing really good. Oh, they look great, by the way. How are they doing? This is a conversation, not a meeting. This is something to say to your staff while you're there. That's not you changing the subject to talk about something that's not business. To stay connected to this part of your business is important, and a lot of gym owners don't do it. They just don't. And the ones who are like screaming at their fucking radio right now, going, "What the fuck? How stupid would it be to be?" Listen,
Come on.
There's a lot. There's a lot out there. There's a lot. And if you're one of that's missing the boat on this, it's fine. Just start having these conversations.
Because if you're not,
when your staff is in, ask them, how's it going? Who are you coaching today? How are they doing? And you don't got to get into details, because that's something we'll get into in our less frequent meetings. But Jesus, touch base. Please, God, touch base. This is what's going on in your gym. And to not have that conversation is fucking crazy. And most gyms don't have it. Just don't.
Because we all know the adage, right? When the cat's away, the mice are at play.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's human nature. And there's too much assuming that people care enough to like do their job all the time. But this is even like, I'm a highly functioning person, but I do require to have you every once in a while be like, where are we at with this?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. And I do the same thing with you.
Yeah.
Where are we at with this thing?
On my end.
That's all right. But it's important, right? Like that simple, it doesn't need to be a meeting, but it's a simple question of being like, fuck, where are we at with this? Because I completely forgot about it. And I haven't followed up with you. It's like, oh shit, I definitely forgot. And it's like, oh, okay. So it's like this constant accountability thing that doesn't have to always be some big, like slapping your pee-pee type of a deal. It just needs to be like, yo, where are we at? Like, where have you been with this thing? We talked about it. Because it's the biggest mistake that I've seen across multiple industries. Anyone that's a manager or an owner that then says, I assume that when I tell you to do something, you're going to do it, and I'm not going to follow back up with you. It's like, what?
That requires such a high level of performance and trust that still needs to be checked in on.
Right.
But you have to build that system.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You got to train those horses. You don't have those horses yet. Very likely you don't have horses that'll do that for you yet. Let's jump into the next one, because I think this carries over from our last subject here too, is on the weekly. Weekly, I think, is time to be reviewing client progress reports and feedback on personal training. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. It's especially important for coaches and gyms and facilities that are placing extra emphasis on being good coaches. Like, and not, by the way, I'm not saying most gyms don't, but I mean, if you are the type of person who has a hard time hiring people, because I need people to be able to coach my way, right? We've talked about this before, that like, you're not gonna be able to clone yourself. You're not gonna have somebody who has all of your coaching attributes and all of the experience and adopts completely and understands every aspect of your coaching philosophy. Therefore, this is where we see a lot of gym owners fuck up, because as former coaches, what they do is they treat their staff meetings like fucking exercise science seminars, and they're dumb and they're boring and nobody cares, and it's all out of context and it's completely in a vacuum. These meetings here will give you an opportunity to actually develop your staff's ability to coach in the one context that's most important. And what's the only context that coaching is important? In the context of the results for the client and the experience of the client. That context is it. So if I'm just going to sit here and talk to some fucking doofus fresh out of college about the structure of the shoulder and my philosophy on training for this or that or whatever, what a fucking waste of time. What an unbelievable waste of time for me and for them. They don't know what they're trying to do. They just read a bunch of book shit for 4 years. It's just not worth the time. And even somebody who's just a very learned coach, who's been around for a long time, and they get a little hoity-toity about movement quality. Nobody gives a fuck. But in this opportunity here, when you're talking about specific clients, this is a client debrief of your staff meeting here, which is like, guys, how are we doing? How's everybody doing? And as a group, as a coaching staff, they should be able to say, and by the way, if your staff is fragmented and you can't get everybody here, you have a bunch of part-timers, that's fine. Some of these check-ins don't need to be done in a meeting. Some of these check-ins can be, I'm going to email you if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you then when you get in. Just give me an extra 10 minutes when you come in, and I'll go over whatever we need to do. A lot of these check-ins need to happen. You can't let people and client situations and certain scenarios, you can't let them fucking hide and collect dust, because they'll ferment and get much, much, much worse. So for this conversation, John, if I'm coaching 10 clients over the course of a week, right? It's very simple. John's going to ask me, how are they doing? Have any troubles? Like, how's so-and-so's progress? What are they trying to accomplish? I can say, this guy's down 25 pounds. It's going great. This guy's really fighting me on nutrition. These other three are just doing it. They're grinding. They're doing really good. So-and-so's got an issue with the shoulder. I really don't know what to do. It's kind of frustrating. And this person's got some back stuff. And so that becomes now, what do? We can then, in that context, we can say, all right, let's reach out to him about nutrition. Let's offer him something. Or let's maybe just start to make that conversation something that you have. Maybe it's not about selling it. Maybe it's just a conversation you need to have about, like, really committing. If you're trying to lose weight and it's not happening, it's the food. It's the food. It's the food. It's the food. They got to have that understanding. That coach is now going to go out there and apply that pressure to that situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's got a bad back and they're struggling to get in the gym and they're having a hard time training. Well, now you, as the person who apparently knows everything about coaching, can go, well, let's find a way. Can we program around this so they can just be getting some more exercise? Because again, if we get ourselves out of the way, it's not about trying to get somebody to deadlift this week who has back pain. It's the dumbest shit I see about coaches who get caught up in movement quality is they think the big win is for someone whose back hurts is for them to deadlift without back pain. Maybe they don't give a fuck about deadlifting, dude. Maybe just let them exercise. Are they here to deadlift, or are they here to lose some weight? Are they here to get in shape, or are they here to look better? So let's give them good work, and let's not force them into your box. Like, that is the time to impart your philosophy and give wisdom and advice and knowledge and pass that over to another coach, because it will help him in how to deal with this situation. And then they'll see that work in this situation. Now that client has a better chance of success versus everybody stand around and listen to how smart I am about the deadlift. It fucking sucks when people get like that. So this allows you to really develop your coaches without wasting a bunch of time teaching them shit they don't need. Because sometimes coaches come in, I don't know how to get this guy. They're in his back squat. This hurts this way and this hurts that way. And the question I ask, and I do this to coaches I work with quite a bit, and I go, why are they doing that at all? And it's not because I hate the fact that they're deadlifting or squatting. It doesn't mean anything. I just expect a coach to be able to defend that to me. Yeah. Someone's having trouble with the things, like, well, why are you messing with that at all? What are they here for? Well, to lose weight. Well, that's all nutrition. So maybe just not fucking smash your head against this fucking wall and make their training sessions unpleasant because you're trying to force them into this. You're trying to jam a square peg into a round hole. Like, maybe, just maybe, let's just get them where they want to go. And that clarity sometimes is, you think that would be obvious. That 10,000 foot view, that, like, just that being able to see, oh yeah, that makes sense. When people are coaching people, there's a lot of dogma and a lot of just, they don't know what they don't know. And they're just ramming their own gym experience, and they're just taking their own gym experience. They're just stuffing it through another person. So I think it's very important. This is when you can really develop a good training staff of killers. This is how you really, really can. This is when you can check in on your groups. This is the perfect time to check in on programming, movement quality, whatever questions a coach is going to have in the context of their clients and their success. It's perfect. And if you've got clients that are not getting results, that are skidding backwards, this is like, fuck, man, this is like 10 weeks in a row. This person came in to lose weight. They're not losing any weight. What do we do? And then that's perfect time. Let's reach out to them. Let's offer them a product. Let's offer them nutrition coaching. If they don't take it, they don't take it. But, like, we have to give them a chance to recommit to themselves, to really commit to this process.
Well, and I really like the idea of what you originally proposed, which is this meeting could have been an email. We've all felt that, right? We've all felt that. So, like, I really like the idea that this results centric check-in off of whoever you're programming for. Because I also like this. We do know how gyms, you have that natural flow of just products or services that you can offer people, and depending on their budget, their time, whether they're not, maybe they really like you and they trust you as like a sports science nerd that they want you to program for them, but they got a membership elsewhere, or maybe they used to know you, they moved out of state. So we have a lot of folks that we know that like just program. Like
Mhm.
programming is the cheapest option that they offer. So the idea of being able to where even if you're just programming for someone to have those results check in, I really like that, especially because it's via email. So you can capture every single person that's in your gym, but then you specifically look at those results because people will talk. I
Mhm.
just had a conversation with a dad, was at a baseball game. Dad was talking about his older son was training at a gym and trained at a gym to help him get stronger for baseball. So during the off season, he trained at this gym. And he goes, I'm going to have my younger son get started here because he hasn't dabbled at all in weightlifting yet, but I want to get him in. But my older son, he just didn't see any results. He trained there for 2, 3 months and really didn't move the needle. And all I asked was, well, what did your older son want? Well, he wanted like he just discovered Zach Wild. And I go, okay. And he's like, he wants to look like Zach Wild. I'm like,
Perfect.
okay. Because the kid plays guitar, right? But also, and I'm like, all right, well, first, you need to find Zach Wild when he was a young man first, before he found out that
Yeah.
gear was a thing. I'm like, so I understand where he was. But I'm like, but if we all know our minds, right? When we were 16, 17, 18-year-old boys,
Want
where it's
what I
like,
want.
I want what I want. I want to look fucking juiced. And it's
Yep.
like, okay. So that's all that kid wanted. Yes, they wanted him to get stronger for baseball, but that kid wanted big biceps, big pecs, and wanted
Yep.
to feel juicy every workout. Okay, that I guarantee that the sports science dork that kid was working with to improve his bat speed,
He was not delivering that sauce. I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
guaranteed.
Guaranteed. And
And
that's a
so the
shame.
dad's like, well, yeah,
Do you know how easy it is to coach boys? Especially, I got some kids that do sport too, and I just make that clear to them early on. I was like, listen, there's a lot of things that can be addressed during this time, but you're skinny and you're weak. And so all of these other things are fucking stupid if I make you a little more coordinated, a little quicker, and you're still skinny and weak. So I'm not going to force you into becoming a powerhouse who's slow, but we're going to fix your skinny. We're going to teach you how to have fun in the gym. We're going to get you jacked. You're going to walk out here with a juicy chest, big pump, and you're going to learn how to train this way so that you can have the things you want and you can have your cake and eat it too. But how did he take the news? That like maybe you shouldn't have hired some 160-pound fucking dipshit out of college who can't bench 2 plates.
well, the dad already took it on him. The
Yeah.
dad's like, I pulled it from him, and he goes, and now we just train. And he goes, and I just do power lifting workouts with him, and he fucking loves it. And he goes, and he's put this much on his bench.
Yeah.
He's put this many inches on his arm because that's what the boy cares about.
Yes.
So now the kid feels good, his confidence is high, and guess what? Like magic, Tyler starts playing better at baseball.
Who would have thought?
Right, like it just, but it's like it's this misunderstanding that we all have, which is you go too far, and meanwhile the dad in his fucking garage gets the kid more results in 5 weeks than he
Then
did for 12
thousands.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just that misalignment.
Yeah. So I think that again, stay aligned with this subject within your gym. It matters the most. It matters the most. And the question I need to ask is what system do you guys have of keeping track of this?
Right.
And that doesn't mean it's a fucking specific piece of software. Just what tasks and reports and actions and conversations are being had systematically, regularly, and systematically to make sure that your client's success is put at the centerpiece of this thing. Okay. Everything else you can put into place with the filter of client success, right? You're going to build a new program. Perfect. How are we going to make client success the centerpiece of this, right? Oh, we're going to build our offer stacks. Great. How are we going to give them the best chance of being successful for their needs, their budget, yada, yada, yada. How, when we build a specific nutrition program for somebody, like how, again, it's very easy to design that with the idea of client success being at the centerpiece of this. But in your gym, where are you fucking circling back around and where are you actually addressing this issue? Where are you going? Okay, now how are they doing? How is this actually happening? And I think the checking in on that is, it's the thing. Most gyms don't They don't have a way. And you can do this all through your staff. Like, let your staff be responsible for the results of their client and let them just report that back to you. That doesn't mean you don't got to go all the way to them, right? There's plenty of ways that we can get Google reviews, testimonials, but let your coaches coach, man. Just hold them accountable to the results and they'll care. They'll care. They have to care. You can make them care. That's why you pay them money.
Right.
Right. And if that doesn't go far enough, you can get rid of them pretty easily too.
Yeah. What I like about all of this too, so we take that client engagement and that feedback that we've gotten, we take that client success and those so that was our daily check for those engagement piece. And then we get to the weekly where now we are seeing this client success and we've seen the progress, more importantly, identifying anything that may need additional help. All of these things, these results, this feedback that you're getting, this takes us to our next thing on our weekly check, which is your marketing. So now, once you know the details, what are you marketing? If you start to hear why people are being successful, what they were looking for, what they're happy about, what's the progress people are making, this allows you to start to evaluate, how are we marketing? What are we putting out in front of people? How are we promoting the gym and our services? And how does that align with the actual results that people are getting and people are actually wanting? Because if you go back and be like, well, people are doing X, Y, and Z, but all we're talking about is none of that.
Yeah.
Then you've just gotten lucky that people are getting results. And it may be like that. Oftentimes that's the key to your marketing. We've talked about this in previous episodes, this misalignment with maybe what you want to be talking about, but what the people that are actually there and they're happy about and what they're achieving, that's what you should be saying. It's why we've talked about for well over a year and a half, 2 years of the idea where it's your people are going to tell you what to market and how with these feedback loops that you've built.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to guess anymore. And now you don't need to come up with some fucking stupid thing of like, well, maybe people need to get like their knee pain fixed and that will help them come into the gym. It's like, no, how many people have said that that was actually what they wanted? Unless you have a gym full of that, you don't. I can confidently tell you, you don't.
Yeah. Well, and I think so. Your marketing and promotion, you need to also look back at this when we talk about the health check. Is this shit working?
Right.
Just, is this working? How many leads did I get for personal training this week? None. Okay. Let's just be real. What I've then been doing to try to get leads isn't working. Now, am I not doing anything? Fine. But the day you're out of fucking, you don't have enough money, or the day you stop growing, or in a month when you look back and go, oh, shit, we didn't get enough members. I thought, well, maybe addressing this fucking marketing strategy is something that's important to do in real time. I see that neglected a ton, and I don't see a lot of the kind of like weekly debriefing, weekly checkups on as far as how did our marketing perform this week, whether it's paid ads, whether it's, and again, we've talked about this. I've shit on people for boosting posts before. I have. It's changed. It has changed now. Facebook has made this a lot easier to do. So if you're wondering, if you want a strategy to tinker with, when you got a new product, you have an offer or something like this, yeah, boost it throw $20 at it here or there. Just do it. See what happens. See, and then you can troubleshoot that. You're not wasting a bunch of money. You're trying something that might work, and then you're going to lean into the things that work. You're going to continue to try new things. But I think that like the effectiveness of your marketing is something that a lot of people completely ignore. John, I did a project for somebody in a different industry. It was videography stuff. And so we're like doing things for hiring and staffing and making sure that there's some alignment instead of people just responding to a words only on like an Indeed listing and they don't know what the job is at all. And it's really hard to describe because it's in manufacturing, right?
Right.
So we made some videos to go through and like display what the jobs actually are, right? So at this position, here's a person doing this job, and it's a quick little 20 or 30-second highlight reel. That way they know that's the machine you're feeding. That's where you're standing. That's what that job looks like. Now, let's be honest. Is that going to attract a bunch of people to that job? No. We did our best to make it not look awful, but this is a factory job, dude. This is loading paper into a thing. This is what it is, man. And so the real purpose of that is to align those expectations so we're not wasting a bunch of resources interviewing and hiring people who are not going to work, and get them in for a week or two before they realize that this was a standing in front of one machine all day type gig. You know what I mean? So figuring out how to blend that, I think, was really important. But when he talked about the last time they had had some paid videography for job listings, that John, they went too far. So what they did was they built an entire landing page. They had a whole production company come in and make a very high level, we're hiring, like snazzy, but it's just a we're hiring post. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's a fluff piece. It's not about
Right.
alignment. It's about attracting the largest amount of people, which, by the way, maybe it did. I really don't even know. But when I talked to the owner of the business and the person who's responsible for hiring, what they said is, so we went through, we paid all this. They even built a whole landing page, a whole separate landing page. So this company got to make the money on the website, the web hosting, the design, and they got to make the video. So it's probably like fucking 10, 15 grand at least,
Right.
to make this single video to run Facebook ads to this landing page just for job openings. Right. And again, I'm fine for trying it. But you know what he said? He said, I couldn't really tell if it like worked or anything. I couldn't tell you.
Oh,
Couldn't tell you if we got like any good or more hires than we ever would have. There's no metrics that are going to come out of that are going to matter. And that's the reality of it. I did not know if any of that money was good money or bad money. Therefore, there was no other moves made in that direction. When that was what it was, they use that content until people are tired of looking at it. And then you just go back to posting on Indeed and not marketing. You know, this is the reality of, I think, a lot of people's marketing strategies, which is like, I did a thing once, didn't bother to check in whether or not it was successful, didn't design it in a way that would hold me or this process accountable to its own outcomes, which is fucking nuts to me. But that's the reality of this stuff. So in regards to your marketing, is just stay on task. By the way, this is also goes along with simply like, is my calendar being adhered to? Right. You should have a marketing calendar simply for social media stuff or whatever's going on. Like, is the person responsible for posting doing that? Right. This is a part of that process. So next, simple stuff, inventory, supplies. That's simple as a walkthrough. That's knowing what's going on in your gym. I think it's also kind of tied in with facility maintenance. Like, is the place clean? Is it looking good? Is your cleaning person doing a good job? Is there a lull in the afternoon where like, fuck, the place is a little beat up, but we're not going to be tidying up here? Maybe that's a situation where you got to implement one new issue. We're gonna have somebody walk through and just tidy up at a certain time. But this is how you make sure that things don't get away from you. This is, are your garbages over full? Do your bathrooms crushed at this time of day? It's just don't let some of these things run away from you, because oftentimes your facility, while I tell you it is less important than you think, the cleanliness of your facility is to a lot of people. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So if someone walks in and your garbages are overflowing and your bathrooms are just a mess and there's equipment everywhere, even in CrossFit situations, in CrossFit gyms, people go in like right after a class and there's shit everywhere. And people are still kind of like cleaning up or mobbing around. Like, dude, it looks like shit. It does look like shit. So you do want to make sure that things are back to square as quickly as possible. Put yourself in a new person's shoes and know that when they walk in here, like, is this place presentable? I think that is worth worth a walkthrough. Another thing that is tied in with this is general facility maintenance. This is where, like, are we talking air filters? Are we talking ordering things that need to be in the back, on the shelf, that type of stuff? Is that getting addressed once a week, or are we only dealing with these things when they're emergencies?
Right. Because then it becomes your problem as the owner.
Yeah.
Like, again, these are things that you can delegate. Power is in delegation. Is anyone checking that the goddamn bike that runs off of batteries is out of batteries?
Yeah.
Like, if you have somebody that's job is to say, yes, I've done that. You've seen at a fast food restaurant or at a gas station, when you go into the bathroom, there's a goddamn clipboard that sits on the back of the door. And that clipboard or that sheet shows the last time that bathroom was checked.
2010.
Right. But that's the reason that shit exists.
Yeah.
Because then it allows the manager to come in and then look, and it's like, fuck, it's been 10 hours or it's been 3 days. And it's like, this is a problem.
Financials, another one, weekly. Check in a weekly. Listen, I was bad at this with my gym. I would only check relevant things to like promotions or things I was running or selling. That's all I would do on a weekly basis. I would just wait. And it was a big mistake, because I think you give yourself a lot of a lot of opportunity to underperform, and you miss out on a lot of time to kind of cover some ground if you wait till the end of the month and go, ah, shit.
Yep.
You know, we ended up losing more than we. So just, I think it's important, keep a basic. And John, how about this? What reports should you pull? Right? What could you pull weekly that would matter? I think new sales matter. I think,
Yep.
lead sales meetings, whatever that is, leads and closed leads, I think are important. I still think cancellations is a big one. How many did we lose this week? Let's just know what that is. And then what is your projected revenue for the month? Your projected where you're at currently. What is that going to look like? Because that is where you're going to need to start making plans. So is there anything else that you think as far as on the financials that you should make sure you have pulled? Because we've done this for a lot of gyms where we've harvested their system so that there is just at the beginning, we would like to do it at the beginning of each week, Monday or Tuesday, but that there's a boom, here is this week's reports on the last week, so that they just know this is a status check on everything financially. And you give it a read, give it a look over. You don't have to make any crazy decisions or movements on it, but like if you're not tuning into it, your eyes are closed.
Yeah, and this is that data. You're right. You're hiding and you're hoping just not to look at it. It does need to be right. So when you talked about the idea of where you're supposed to be, what your projections are, we want you to look at, if you've been in business for over a year, I want you to look at where you were last year. And the reason why we like this, in my opinion, there's a larger play or a larger focus is we're looking at, and this takes us closer to that monthly check-in or your monthly health checks. But I want you to look at what is your projection for this month with your comparable to last year during the same month.
Yeah.
Again, this is just data, but my expectation is to be at this revenue at the end of May or at the end of June. I looked at it. I have a comparable because now when I do my weekly health checks, I'm just checking. My expectation was to be here at the end of this month, at the end of week 1 or week 2 of this month. I'm here. Am I ahead? Am I behind? Again, it's just data. And you may have lots of reasons for why you're behind or why you could be way the fuck ahead. You could be 30% ahead. But now you're like, oh, I know why. Because that's actually what's the most killer. Again, if we continue to tie this back to things that we know better, and it's not this business chit like conversation, but it's how infuriating is it that when you have either lost weight or gained weight, you don't know why. That's so much worse to say, fuck, I lost 10 pounds, but I can't identify why that happened because now it cannot be repeatable. And that's where a lot of folks, if you're not looking at it, you don't know if you're gaining or losing.
Yeah.
And so now you're so far behind. Knowing the why is what's most important. And this allows you, because otherwise, what? It's just a hope and a prayer that we continue to be 4% increase or 8% increase month over month. Because if you're hoping and you're just happily surprised every time you look at it, then you're just waiting to get fucked.
Well, and I also think that let's jump into the monthly stuff here, because this is where we'll get to, is that a lot of the successes that gyms have, that gyms that aren't paying close attention to these things consistently, that they're having are borderline accidental, but they are a byproduct of the things you do inherently good. I think that's important. But if you're not paying close attention to like really the cause of this stuff and the ebbs and flows of how all of it goes, you miss out on the opportunity to maximize the things you do really well as well. So you let this stuff happen on accident, and it's like, man, you accidentally fell into this and it's going okay. Imagine if you fucking tried at all. Like, just
right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't get to sit here and have to sit here and just like wonder how nice it would be if you had 40 more members and they all spent 30% more money, and you had new program this and new program that, and this product's crushing it, and your online nutrition coaching super successful, and you're getting tons of great testimonials and great results and great feedback from people, great before and after pictures, like your marketing set, all of that stuff crushes if you're trying. If you're really trying, all that stuff can fall right into place and you can really dominate. But you're going to like just kind of exist in your market if you don't. And that's the big difference that I see is I like gym owners who want to dominate their space. It's important. Doesn't mean that you got to be like, fuck you to the next guy, but what, you don't want to be better than your competition, at least at delivering results and maybe making yourself more successful. Like if there's none of that competitive urge in you, especially like competitive, I call it competitive empathy. like competitive compassion in
Yeah.
regards to clients. I think that's important. I pride myself, John, that my clients fucking crush it, and I don't see anyone else in town delivering results like my wife and I deliver. Doesn't fucking happen. Nobody's even
Right.
close. Nobody's even close. And if they are, a lot of those people are getting results like on accident and it's random, right? And I don't try to claim my client's success as my own, but I do claim it as, you know, you didn't get that anywhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's very important. And by the way, they'll say what they'll say about it. So it's very important to me that those metrics that I have be better than anyone else in my area, for sure. That's super important to me. And I
Eh,
don't understand why gyms don't want why you don't want that. A lot of gyms just exist. There's just people who come in and they get results almost in spite of you.
And in
What a
spite of
shame.
your efforts to let anybody know.
Yeah.
Like that's probably where the edge really starts to lie, is your ability to then make sure that that's known.
If
Because
you're a
as you
gym owner and if you've had people in the last year lose 30, 40, 50 or more pounds, and you're not posting about it, either just generally, if you want to keep the anonymity of the person, maybe you don't even want to show pictures, but you better talk about that fucking situation, dude. It's the only
Mhm.
thing that matters to most people.
Right.
If I got 15 pounds to lose, the guy that got 50 pounds off a guy, I know he can get that job done. If I got 15 pounds to lose, like I'm going to go to somebody who can at least get some results versus somebody that just doesn't talk about it at all. And I got to go somewhere and just figure it all out myself. Like there's no attraction to mediocrity at all. There's no attractiveness to it. It doesn't draw anybody in. So if you're going to be good at your job, which I hope you're trying to do if you're in this fucking business, like, but being good at your job is twofold: client success and financial. And you can make those, you can reconcile those two things together, and now you create a feedback loop of success that we always talk about. But that fucking thing, man, you really got to be dialed in on that, because it's the only thing that matters. And week to week, like we said before, this is more about specific in gym situations, about
Mhm.
clients and how they're doing and what it's like coaching them. It's almost like you're zooming in on the hour that they're there. This is about the months and the year. And I think
Correct.
that's the most important thing about this. Client retention is another big one, just generally how many in, how many out this month. Overall, I think your delivery of your service is important. Sales numbers, all the same reports you would pull weekly, we want to pull for the month.
Correct.
Staff development. This, I do believe, should be a meeting, or at least a, this one, you should, one time a month, can we talk to these fucking people in person? Can we show them something in person? I do think that's important. It can be one-on-one, it can be with them as a whole. Maybe it's something where you just schedule a time to get in with them for 10-15 minutes before they coach or after.
And because you've been doing the work incrementally across all of the people that are in your whether it's from daily and weekly, you're able to then compile that data, and you will find consistencies that then gives you the best bang for your buck when you want to do staff development.
Yeah.
So now you're not just speaking to the one person because they said this thing one time and now it's a waste of time for 90% of the people. So you can
Yeah.
start to find what are those consistencies. And then when you want to do a one-on-one thing, there may be a benefit to then going over this particular topic. Or if you're starting to see a gap, now that's very high value. This
Yeah.
isn't going to be something that could have been an email. Now you've gotten the emails, you've gotten the data, and now you're really surgically precise with what you're now going to use those people's time.
I also think that the staff development conversation here, um, this is how you keep your system. This is how you keep your horses moving in the right direction. This is how you keep the system running. Um, Gyms that don't do this, they lose a lot of sight, John. We do work with Jim pretty hands-on right now too, that this is a lot of the stuff that we're facilitating right now. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
it's been a long time without check-ins going on with the staff. And in return, what happens, the staff just get a little complacent. Things don't move quickly. You find that, like, well, there's a lot of things that aren't implemented that we thought maybe were. And so I think it's this thing, if it cannot be done at this level weekly, monthly is where we really try to take a bite out of the big picture here. which is okay. Guys, now here's what I want of you next month, right? We talked about what we're doing weekly here. Next month is this. This is the big focus. I'd like to get you here. This is important where you can share performance goals. You can share the metrics that you're trying to move in the right direction. This is where you need to have a monthly focus as well.
Yes.
Whether it is like, we need to get you more Google reviews up, or we need you to be talking as a coach. I need you to make sure you're mentioning people about the protein powder we got behind the desk. Let them know we got creatine. You're bringing it up. You tell them we got pre-workout, caffeine, and no non-stim. Whatever your philosophy is on whatever it is you're trying to sell, these are the people that need to be doing that conversation. And they don't got to be pushy, and they don't got to become salespeople. But if they're not talking about it and it's hiding behind the shelf, that shit might as well not exist. So this is where a lot of products and opportunities go to die, because it's not that you have to force these people to do it. If you don't remind them constantly, they won't do it.
Right.
It just won't. Dude, like, tell your kid, John, if you didn't make your kids bring their dirty laundry down, or change their bed, or pick up their room, or pick up the playroom, I mean, it would never get done, not even once.
Mm-mm.
Not even
And it would
once.
become a monster. It would
And I'm
become a
not saying
monster of a problem.
And I'm not saying your staff is children, but you're managing humans, which is a lot like parenting. I just don't care. This is the way that it is. And you do have to understand that you do have to hold these people accountable, and they just need guidance. By the way, they work for you. So like, we're not going to talk to these people about what they need to do and what's expected of them and hold them accountable. Like, how you're not going to work at a fucking gas station and get away with that, right? Like, everybody's going to talk to you about how you did at your job. Like, that's what we're here to do. And so many gyms and fitness centers, they're not even talked to. Coaches or staff are never even talked to about how they're doing, what they'd like to be doing different. They're not allowed to give feedback back to the gym owner. So they just kind of exist in limbo. And it happens a lot. So this is the time. This is the time to, like, this is when you can tighten all that stuff up. And this solves like major culture problems, like hurt feelings or resentment that starts to build up over months and months and months and months of feeling left behind or feeling ignored and never getting the opportunity to address it head on.
And what you measure and what we talk about is what matters. And that's where the success and results come from. So it is one of those things, like you said, in these monthly meetings, these monthly focuses, where it just is, that is the time as the gym owner. Your job is to always be 30,000 feet up, looking at the company as a whole, looking at what matters, and deciding, because you've already hopefully have mapped out what were your quarterly goals here, what were the targets that you're trying to move on. A lot of times that stuff lives and dies in your brain. You don't deposit some of that information back to your people. Your people don't need to know everything. Yeah. This is a mistake where you don't need to have people freaking out because you're worried about the P&L and you're worried about what's happening month to month. That's for you to live and die silently as a solopreneur and suffer quietly alone. But there is a time where you do need to tell your people personal training matters this month. This is what matters. This is where we want to move it. This is what we're doing collectively, so that everyone's on the same page. Because if you don't share that, then people kind of just do what they're already doing, thinking that that's what you want them to do, because you're not talking to them about anything else.
Yeah.
Another thing that is on the list, that it's not necessarily monthly, but I do want you, and for what I believe is important, on a quarterly basis as a gym in your community, are you trying to do something that's community based? Whether it is literally going into the community, participating in some function that may already exist, whether you are throwing something, doing something that brings the community to you. I think it's really important that you're doing some fundamental marketing every 8 to 12 weeks. I think it's really, really important when it comes to lead generation, goodwill, all that community building, all that ecosystem building that we talk about so often. You have to be looking at that, because if you don't, 1 month will go to another, to another, to another, and it's been a year since you've done something.
Yeah. Basically, this is quit ignoring your bullshit. As you guys stay tuned into what's going on daily, weekly, monthly, whatever that needs to look like for you. I think map that out. If you don't have this done, like if you don't have this in place now, that's fine. But just write out what you need to know every week. Just what do you think you need to know every week? What does your staff need to know every week? Okay. And then spread that out to monthly, start from there. And then the daily you can kind of build in from there. But I think that it's a very easy starting point for you to do. By the way, what if you're a one-man operation with a couple part-timers, which is very common?
Sure.
Perfect. All you need to do is check in on this. It's just you. It's mostly just you. This is very easy. Now you have an actual job to do. because I see a lot of gym owners who just like don't do shit else. They're
Of
in the
course.
gym and they're doing gym stuff where they don't do anything. And it's like, where are we at here? What is going on? John, I work with a guy that does just nothing. We're on like 2 straight years of, and I don't work. Let me rephrase this. Dude's not paying me to do anything. So I'm allowed to speak on such things. But it's like, I watch a gym owner not do anything to develop his own situation. And every year I get some sad sap story wanting me to buy his gym because the money. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, I don't know, man. You haven't done fuck all in 364 days and now money's tight. Well, now's not the time to start asking for money. You should have got better at selling. You should have been doing all these things, but their days are spent doing nothing, just not developing. And I always ask, what systems do you have in place right now that you didn't have a month ago? What did you upgrade within your business right now that you didn't have in this situation a month ago? What was that a year ago? Was that 6 months ago? Was that 2 years ago? And I know a lot of gyms and a lot of gym owners that have made no movement, none, no system, no strategy, no experimentation process, no new hiring, no new marketing strategy, no sales attempts, no big pushes at anything, just a simple existence. And for some of them, it works. Some of them keeps the light on, and some of them, it's only a matter of time until someone who's coming into your market is willing to actually play the game. That will fucking smoke you. So,
And
step
some
up,
of you,
you gotta step up.
and some of you are worried about a fucking TikTok dance video that somehow is going to move the needle. Like it's just it's equally as bad. It's equally as bad because now at least the person doing nothing understands why they have nothing. They've been doing nothing. Some of you are creating really fucking stupid videos and TikTok dance bullshit things, thinking that that somehow is going to move the needle for marketing to make you guys seem really fun. And the reality is that it's equally as bad because you're not doing, if you're wasting time there, you better have every fucking thing just dialed in as sharp as goddamn possible. Because there are guys that are doing that.
Yep.
We have somebody that's close to us who does tons of stupid fucking videos, but his shit is sharp. His staff is on it. They're making tons of money. So guess what he gets to do?
Have fun.
He gets to make stupid fucking videos that are fun and that he wants to do because that's his job. He's the chief fun officer of his goddamn company because everything else is running.
Yeah. So get yourself there.
Yeah.
You want to fuck around, that's how you do it. But everything else has to be in place. All these things got to be built in underneath you. Guys, I hope this helps. Hope we didn't get too preachy here, but just take, again, this is another one of those good episodes where I think you can go through and just take notes out of the things that you think you want to take away from here. Implement them within your business. If you want us to help you with such things, that's what we do in the Gear Academy. Go to gymownersrevolution.com to sign up, or you can message John or I directly if you have any questions about what we can help you do, what we would help you to accomplish here in the Gear Academy. So follow the show at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. Follow me at Tyler F. and Stone. That's Tyler EFF I Stone. And John?
And you can follow me on Instagram at jbanksfl.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll see you next week.